The time has come. Xerneas finally has its signature move Geomancy in Pokemon Go. And better yet, it is a fast move, not a charge move. And if you recall, Xerneas' main thing that's held it back in both raids and PvP is that it hasn't had a really good fast move. So in this video, I'm going to let you know just how good Geomancy is on Xerneas for both raids and PvP in Pokemon Go. Starting out with the raid side of the forest here, you can see on the DPS TDO spreadsheet on GamePress that Xerneas is now a good fairy type raid attacker. In terms of DPS, it is the fourth best compared to Mega Gardevoir, which you can only have one Mega on your team, and two Shadow Pokemon, one of which being Shadow Granbull, which is kind of one of the more questionable Shadow Pokemon to take all the way to level 50, right? So all things considered, Xerneas is looking pretty formidable here. And then if you were to check out the ER, which is the Pokemon's like overall goodness for raids, favoring the DPS but also factoring in the bulk. And yeah, it outpaces the Shadow Granbull in terms of ER. So if you already have like a Shadow Gardevoir army going on, why would you want to power up a Xerneas? Well, Xerneas looks cool. It is something different. And Xerneas does have some utility in the Master League meta. So there's a little double dipping going on when you power up a Xerneas to level 50. So overall, pretty good things for Xerneas. Now, if you're not into the Master League and you already have a good fairy type team for raids already settled, then Xerneas might not exactly be the biggest upgrade out there. Switching on over to the PvP side of the force, starting out with the Ultra League because Xerneas can't fit into the Great League. Sorting by fairy types, you can see Xerneas isn't exactly our first pick. It's definitely not the worst pick, but definitely not our first choice when it comes to a fairy type in the Ultra League. Now, Xerneas does have some chops. The Geomancy here in PvP is basically a Snarl clone. It is 1 point of damage weaker than Snarl, but that's kind of mitigated for the same type attack bonus that Xerneas is getting here. But we already got a Snarl fairy type Pokemon using close combat in the form of Granbull. So what Xerneas is bringing to the table really isn't exactly new. And when it comes to Granbull, you kind of have a mystery box surprise factor going on with it. Maybe they're expecting the Charm, so they swap to a Steel type. Psych, it's Snarl Granbull. Enjoy this close combat, fool, Xerneas doesn't exactly have that going on, but Xerneas is a spice pick in and of itself. It does have the Moonblast, which is a better attack than the Play Rough, so it does have some chops. And if you do have doubts on Xerneas now that it has the Geomancy, link up above and in the description to Daniel Neary's Legend run, like from many seasons ago, before we even had the tackle buff, where he hit Legend off of Xerneas in the Ultra League. So Xerneas has potential. It is a spice pick, and the spice can work in your favor. But all things considered, definitely not your first choice for the Ultra League. Maybe you don't want to whip out the elite fast TMs to get your Geomancy here. Moving on up to the Master League side of the force here, you can see Xerneas has climbed its way to number 5 in the PvPoke rankings, using Geomancy, a Snarl clone, Close Combat, and Moonblast. So this is basically like a Zacian moveset here. Instead of Play Rough, we got the Moonblast. So in some respects, Xerneas is a better Zacian. It's even outranking Zacian on the PvPoke rankings here. But there is a couple things to keep in mind when it comes to this. Comparatively, Zacian to the Xerneas, Xerneas has a bigger HP pool, which means that it's going to have a better time fighting the Dialga and the Giratina. And these stronger victories against those Pokemon are, for the most part, what's bringing Xerneas up here in the ranking. What Zacian has over the Xerneas is sort of like what the Granbull has over the Xerneas in the Ultra League. And that is that it has that mystery box factor. Is Zacian carrying Close Combat, Wild Charge, or Play Rough? Which combination of these 3 charge moves are going to be coming at you? If you swap over to a Xerneas and your opponent has a Ho-Oh in the back, well then Ho-Oh can just eat this thing for breakfast. But if you swap into a Zacian and they bring in a Ho-Oh, you got the Wild Charge? Or don't you? have the wild charge. So overall, I would say Zacian is better than Xerneas. It's a lot more flexible and scary than what Xerneas is, but Xerneas has some chops, and I believe we will see some Xerneas-Zacian combos in the Master League moving forward. So that's about all I gotta say right now about Geomancy Xerneas in Pokemon Go. Overall, a really big buff for it all around. It is now actually a good raid attacker, and it is actually good in the Master League. I mean, with the tackle buff, it was already kind of good in the Master League, but now it's like actually good in the Master League. So that's pretty exciting for the Xerneas enjoyers out there. If you got any questions on this content, of course, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, you want to see more like it, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. SwagTips. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these Patreon supporters. If you want to support Swagman on Patreon, link in the description. Hope you all ready for some breakfast, because next video is Bacon Bird time with the Oblivion Wing.